There's a gleam, man. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
Thanks to President Trump.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have protection, and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast.
What did I say? I'm not gloating, but what did I say? Did I not say that we were winning? We rocked them, Bama. We rocked them. Nigga, you see me coming on that plane?
Ask you a question.
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I
one.
ask you a question about?
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not
You don't.
responded to these
I told you.
allegations.
CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his
Sure.
Yes, I'm sure, bitch. I got the head of the CIA right here. He'll tell you.
job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have.
Guess that means you need to shut the up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would shut up. Shut the
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person. I'll tell you
Can you answer why
Very
you
simple.
held on to the documents?
I was negotiating, and we were talking to.
It was $35,000.
$35,000 cash money.
No, I get $35,000 plus one, right?
The one I gave.
No, you gave me six, though, right? That was one. I had one. It was six, and then 35,000 plus one plus six leaves seven. $35,000 and seven, right? Motherfucker, can you buy that?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President.
Damn, I know I shouldn't have called on this nigga. I shouldn't have called on you because you always trying to distract motherfucker. Fine, I'll answer your stupid ass question.
Plan to ask President
Low-rated.
Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is it?
deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
Well, let
Stop worrying about that. I got that under control.
me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country.
That means you need to shut up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would shut up. Shut the
So will you return him, President
And
Bukele?
you are doing a great job. Thank you.
Usted
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them.
We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children.
No, shut the
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
What's illegal?
Why do you go over and over, and that's why nobody watches you anymore?
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
Get the fuck out!
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to a special afternoon edition of Ticks. Before we get on to this checkmate that just happened to Zelensky, because good Lord, bro, you are stupid. Trump played you like a fiddle. He may have maybe he just saved your life. But right now, as far as it stands right now, he just saved your life. He just saved Zelensky. Trump just saved your life. He just saved your life. You have no idea. Maybe he told you, but he just saved your life. Before we get into that, give everybody a chance to get in here. I got up this morning. Friend and I, we went to it's a video game store. They do video games and movies. They just opened up. It was their grand opening. And when we pulled up, it was in the shopping mall out in Kennesaw, and the line was out the door and down the shopping mall sidewalk. It was a line. But we got there as soon as we got out the car, they opened the doors. It was their grand opening. But what they had been doing is collecting inventory. They were open, but they were buying games from people. They were buying people's inventory. If you want to sell old games, old movies, whatever, they were buying them. So when we went in there, we finally got in there. And that store was packed. I've never seen a grand opening for a used video game movie store like that in my entire life. And in Columbus, Ohio, we used to have these two stores called Buybacks. And they did the same thing. They would resell old movies, video games, consoles, whatever, but they wound up going out of business. I don't know why. But this place was jam-packed. It was jam-packed. We got there 10 o'clock in the morning. Jam-packed. When we were ready to buy our stuff, the line was so long for the registers, we had to go outside. It was that long. That's good business right there. I appreciate that. I don't want to give anything away, but anyway, I don't want to jinx it. But next year, it's going to be a whole different ball game, hopefully, if things go the way that we're looking at. But at any rate, let's get on to this, and then I'll explain it. Let's go. So,
thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
This is an ABC News special.
Let me tell you what just happened. So, Trump signed the mineral deal with Ukraine. Therefore, if Russia attacks Ukraine any further, they're now attacking the United States because of the United States' vested interest in Ukraine. Before, it was puppeteer garbage, but now the money is now on the line. Okay, so you're like, well, that means we're going to head to war. Checkmate for Zelensky. Checkmate against Zelensky. No, I said for, but it's checkmate against Zelensky because now Trump will call Putin and say, yo, sign the deal with me. Don't worry about him. Sign the deal with me. Sign the deal with me. Don't worry about Zelensky. They just cut him out. See, from what I'm understanding, what they were saying is that we split it 50-50 with Ukraine. So now what's going to happen is the United States is going to make the deal with Russia as far as a percentage. Simple as that. It's Ukraine. It's their stuff. Let them get their 50%. It's their stuff. So now it's a matter of percentages between the United States and Russia. There's no need for Ukraine to attack Russia. That's stupid because, dude, if you now attack Russia, that's like us attacking Russia, and we're not attacking Russia. So do not attack Russia or we'll punish you. You get it? We'll punish you. Russia does not want to start a war with the United States. They've been trying to sign Russia, Putin, and Trump has been trying to get Putin and Zelensky to sign the deal together, the peace deal together, ever since he came in office. Zelensky refused to sign the deal with Russia. But now we signed it with the United States. The United States signs it with Russia. The war is over. The war is over. Because all of this is over resources. It's not over the land. They don't want to. Yes, Kiev is now part of Russia. Yay! Like that's an empty victory. They want the resources, the minerals. This is what it's all about. You see how beautifully that was played? Do you see how beautifully that was played? Please tell me you see how beautifully that was played. That was beautifully played. Let's see if they sign the deal with Russia before Friday around noon. What will the Democrats bitch and moan and whine and complain about now? Anyway, so let's get this out of the way because something else happened. I know that the one of the guys, he got fired today. One of the guys that worked under Pete Hegseth, because this was the moron that put the reporter on the Signal chat. Come to find out. So, of course, he got fired. Him and his aide, they got fired as expected. Somebody was going to take the fall for that. It wasn't going to be Hegseth. It was going to be who was responsible. And that's what happened. But there was a press conference that happened earlier yesterday. Carolyn Levitt, she did a press conference today. So much to get into before 9 o'clock. I'm just trying to catch up. All right. So let's deal with this ABC News interview because, man, I wanted to get on this. I didn't see all of it, but we're going to deal with it now because, I mean, Trump was slapping this guy all over the place. Let's go.
From inside the White House.
When you stepped back in the Oval Office after you were reelected,
right?
What went through your mind? Triumphant when you walked back?
Yeah, there's a feeling of triumph.
President Donald J. Trump on his 100th day in office. From the #1 issue, the economy.
People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually.
To immigration.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
To Elon Musk.
Did DOGE go too far, too fast, too reckless?
And the concerns from many Americans about the impact of tariffs.
Everything's going to be just fine.
President Trump, the first 100 days, the interview in the Oval Office with ABC News anchor and senior national correspondent, Terry Moran.
Earlier today, I sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office for an...
By the way, this was a story I never touched on, but I'll speak on it now. If you look behind him, you'll see all these arrested signs. This is Media Row, like the street that the reporters stand on when they do their reports as far as outside of the White House. It's 100, I think it's 100 signs or 100 yards of signs of all of the illegal aliens that were arrested and deported, and for the crimes that they were arrested and deported for. A lot of them are sexual assaults. A lot of them are sexual assaults against minors. MSNBC decided to blur out these people's faces because they want to protect the criminal. No wonder it's a dead network, but let's go.
Exclusive interview on his 100th day of his second term. It was a great opportunity to ask him some wide-ranging questions about the issues that most concern so many Americans. We talked about the economy and his tariffs. We talked about immigration and those deportations. And you can see here the White House has put up some posters that they say show some of the violent criminals that have so far been deported. We'll talk about a lot more as well. The president's answers were provocative, at times combative, and always he was strong in his convictions about his policies. But before we get to the interview, we begin tonight with a look inside the Oval Office that Donald Trump has transformed.
Hello, everybody. How are you? This is the Oval Office. This is the Resolute desk, which is really something very spectacular. There's nothing quite like it. And they give you a choice of about 7 different desks, but this is the one I chose. Ronald Reagan had it. FDR had it. A few people had it, but I found it to be the most beautiful.
It is amazing.
This is an amazing space.
They polished
and
the
amazing,
hell out of that desk.
maybe architecturally wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S. And if properly used, a lot of good things can happen.
I see Ronald Reagan over there.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Right to your left.
Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here, and put him a little bit larger. It sort of seemed to fit very nicely. You have Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a 4-termer and went through a war. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. That was his claim to fame. Over here, you have the original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. And of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect. And it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar with that one. But I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity toward all.
Well, he was a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents. And
it changes,
that says something.
It does.
What does this say about how you feel about the country and the office?
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up, pictures that weren't largely used. And in many cases, great men, in this case men, but great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems. This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see the space be treated properly. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, in terms of modernization. That's
a gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So, and it's an honor to have you people with us.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Here in the Oval Office, it's special. 100 days
Spend
into
some money
your
on this
second
camera
term.
work.
So, what's the one thing, just one thing, that you think is the most significant thing you've done so far in these 100 days?
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but You've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murders, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly, very quickly. And I think that's very significant. But we're doing other things that are very significant. The results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years. They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But I
have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, I would really say that the border is so important.
And we'll get there.
let that
Immigration,
happen.
huge,
Yeah.
and we're going to get there. But I want to start with the economy, the number one issue for so many people, for just about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade. We were losing $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion a year, not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way, and at some point there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous economy, tremendous success, and we did tremendous numbers of tariffs we took in a lot of money from tariffs, China in particular, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. We had no inflation, as you know. We had an incredible economy. We're given credit for a great economy. But I said, we have to fix this. Otherwise, it's just not self-sustaining.
Every time they bring up these tariffs with China, they never talk about exactly what we get from China. And what we get from China is stuff that the average everyday American, no matter what economic ladder they're on, what rung they're on, don't need. You don't need an iPhone. You don't need a Christmas tree. You don't need a fan made from China. You don't need toys. That's their number one import is toys, cheap products, Temu. Oh, and as we saw last night, knockoffs. We don't need that stuff. So the tariffs that we've imposed on China are from goods that we literally do not need. We can make right here. Some we do. I mean, come on, there's knockoffs made right here in America. Knockoffs made in Mexico. Knockoffs made in Canada. We don't need that stuff. We don't need that stuff. China needs that stuff to be sold here. Their economy is crashing. Ours isn't. They don't send us eggs and beef and milk. They don't send us that type of, if they send any food, which I don't even think they do. But whatever little, we don't need it. We're not paying for it. They don't buy houses from China. We don't work for Chinese people. They don't hire us. They hire illegal immigrants, usually from Mexico. Go to any Chinese-owned store. You might have a Keisha working the register, but all the other employees, illegals, usually Mexican, because they can pay them cheap and they work hard because they need the job.
One of the things you ran on was you'd said you'd bring prices down on day one, and that it would happen fast, and that it would happen fast. And most economists will tell you that tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around 1% inflation, which is like a perfect number. And then when Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say. And in 100 days, we took over. We had bad inflation for 4 years, for 2 years of, especially 2 years of his administration. I would say record-setting like we've never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that. Yeah. Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few states during the last couple of days. It was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week. Eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said, they've doubled. And well, eggs are down 87% since I got involved.
A lot of that is
and
bird
by the way,
flu,
and there were plenty of eggs for Easter, which we just went through. There were plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter. My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of that was bird flu. Biden killed millions of chickens because of bird flu. So the egg prices went up. Then Trump came into office. They started crying to him about eggs. Like, excuse me. You can't, and then eggs magically appear. The hens have to be inseminated in order to make the eggs. I mean, there was a lot of roosters. I mean, they was, death by snoo in them chicken coops. It was death by snoo in chicken coops. But the supply finally caught up with the demand before Easter. Actually, long before then. Anyway, I know I'm making a joke, but let's just be honest. That's what happened.
Everything's down.
Okay.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down, but we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be cute.
We'll get to that. You said something a couple of weeks ago that struck me. You said concerning the tariffs, which economists say are going to raise prices. You said, quote, hang tough. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. We had a tremendous campaign. I said all of these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down. Many things are down, just about everything. You don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen.
No. Okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes.
And
so 145% tariffs on China.
Yeah.
And that is
That's
basically
good.
an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop, Etsy stores, small businesses that became
They
big
haven't had a
businesses.
boom because of inflation.
Well,
Etsy is an online store. What is he talking about? Do you think it's been Has there been a boom in the digital economy? Yes, because it's the digital economy. But as we discussed last night, a lot of small businesses, brick and mortar stores that sell things like valuable clothing, or what's considered to be valuable clothing, tennis shoes, all right, grocery stores, convenience stores, even gas stations, especially in certain parts of the countries, are getting robbed ridiculously. Again, no Walmart. In Chicago, they had 4. All the Walmarts are gone. Portland, Oregon, they had 2 Walmarts. Both Walmarts are gone. California, all of those stores and whatnot, ghost towns. Ghost towns. You had a guy out in he was out in LA. Was it Oakland or LA? At any rate, out in California, he had like a liquor store, and some teens on bikes caught themselves getting ready to do the snatch and grab, where they mob the store and run out with everything. They were getting ready to do that, and dude stopped them. He got punched. He pulled out a gun. They tried to criminalize the store owner for protecting his business from a roving band of thieving teenagers. Yes, they were black. But they saw, this is racist. You're supposed to let the black teenagers just steal all your products. You're insured. Oh my God. People do not understand how insurance works. For those of you that owned a car and you got into a car accident, what happens to your insurance? Your premiums go up, right? Same thing with a store. Same thing with a store. And you all know how hard it is, how long you have to wait before you can recoup from insurance. I got into a car accident in 2020. I still haven't got my deductible back. $2,000. Still haven't got it back. 5 years later, the day you had the car repaired in a week, still haven't got my deductible back. Insurance went up. Are you kidding me? But I guess we're supposed to let criminality run free because, insurance. Or as one idiot black chick said, reparations. Like stealing a bottle of liquor is going to make up for 400 years of slavery. Oh my God. People are dumb. People are dumb. At any rate, a lot of small businesses across the United States closed, not just because of COVID, but also because of theft. And a lot of people lost their jobs, so the economy was trash. A lot of small businesses were struggling to survive, and now they can't. You all know this. You live in cities. You all know the malls that have shut down, the stores and strip malls that have shut down. Like, damn, like what happened to the such and such store? Damn, they closed. They out of business. Whether you went in there or not, you see the difference.
The boom was inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I mean, you read the news, you do the business
now
stuff.
Now a lot of them built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're going to make more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an extinction event.
I've been here.
It's disaster for them.
I've been here for 3 months. I've taken a trade deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here. We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country, between the open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody.
Dude, a small look. This just goes to show you how dumb Democrats are and that Democratic mentality. Because this is a very stupid question that this guy is asking. Because common sense would tell you that if there are no jobs available for people, and this is what the tariffs are doing. The tariffs are bringing corporations here to the United States, making them build their factories and office buildings from scratch, which puts construction workers to work. Once they're done, then you start putting unskilled laborers and skilled laborers, as far as white collar skilled laborers, or even some of them that are unskilled, they're getting jobs. Because these places have jobs, small businesses that might sell, like Dollar Tree or something like that, maybe the convenience store, Larry's Tire Shop, auto body, car dealerships, whatever, clothing stores, whatever. Now that people have jobs, well-paying jobs, especially if the tariff thing works out by come next year, where we don't have to pay income tax or federal income tax if we make less than, first it was 150K, now I hear it's 200K, but you make less than that yearly, then you have more spending power. You have more buying power. Who cares if the dress that was going for $50 now goes for $55? You can afford it. You can afford it. Groceries aren't going to be high. Okay, let's say bananas go from 50 cents a bushel to now 55 to 60 cents a bushel. Is that dime really gonna kill you? What is you talking about? You can afford it. Small businesses will come back. But the biggest thing that you have to tackle in order for small businesses to thrive, you're already tackling the economic problem. Now you have to tackle the crime problem. You handle both of those through the educational system. States start educating the kids on what they're supposed to be educated on instead of learning how to stick a butt plug up their derrieres and how to eat each other's tacos and do some Kanye and his cousin type stuff. Instead of teaching them that garbage, teach them the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s. Get their brains together. Teach them how to read, write, and count past an 8th grade level. Seriously graduate them. Flunk these bastards if they're not passing their tests. Get special tutors in there for after school. Bring your education system up. Make learning fun again. And then that's how you solve your crime problem. Plus, you take away the welfare. Redistribute the welfare. No more free lunches. So therefore, you don't have Shaniqua in class thinking that, because, I'm failing, so let me just go ahead and get pregnant and get me a welfare check and a Section 8 voucher, and I'll just live like that. I'll just keep producing babies for the check. If there's no check, if there's no welfare, if there's no food stamps, there's no SNAP, is Shaniqua likely to have a baby out of wedlock while still in high school or shortly after she graduates? Talking about getting out of her mama's house? No, she's trapped in a forever state, could be trapped in a forever state of perpetual poverty. We'll see.
But it was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's
up,
only
bro?
one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. Our country had inflation that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't mention that. Why don't you mention that? We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. People say 48 years, probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down, the energy prices are coming down, gasoline's coming down. It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
Coming up.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Okay, let's move on to immigration. And as you said, it is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
About my message?
Methods, about your methods, how you're
Well, they
accomplishing
seem to
this.
work.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21 million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo, they came from South, they came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
Do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this: if you're going to have 21 million people, and we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to
The
do?
law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally.
And
We
there's
have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major
I'm
trial
not
for
saying
every
major.
person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that.
So this came in. Trump cannot use, this is through Ground News, Trump cannot use Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans, a judge rules. On May 1st, U.S. district judge, Fernando Rodriguez Jr., blocked the Trump administration from deporting Venezuelans under the Alien Enemies Act in South Texas. This ruling came after President Trump issued a proclamation in March asserting that members of the Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua, were entering the United States illegally and invoked an 18th century wartime statute to accelerate their deportation. The act, last used during World War II to intern Japanese Americans, has faced multiple legal challenges and sparked litigation after attempts to transfer migrants to a notorious El Salvador prison. Rodriguez wrote the administration lacked authority under the act, stating allowing the president to unilaterally invoke it would remove all statutory limits on executive power. What is this guy talking about? The ruling prevents using the wartime law for these deportations, but allows other immigration laws to apply, making the first court decision limiting peaceful use of the act. Of course, this will be overturned, but this is what I'm talking about. The Supreme Court needs to step in and tell these judges that you are not the president. You do not have the powers to block the president from doing his job. You cannot make a ruling on what the president is doing because you're not the Supreme Court. That's for us to decide, not you. If you have a problem, come talk to us and we'll make the ruling. But you don't get to make these decisions. This is why Trump was saying we need to start impeaching these people. But you also had 3 more judges that got arrested this week for aiding and abetting criminal illegals, gang members. 3 more white women arrested for breaking the law, aiding and abetting terrorists. The liberal white female is crazy. Do you understand? She's crazy. She's worse than the liberal black female. She's worse. The liberal black female endangers you. The liberal white woman endangers everybody. Ask Shannon Sharp. Woo! At any rate, let's continue.
I came in.
But if I was, okay, I can't deport them, fine. Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay. Or whatever prison that we choose to. How about that? We're still going to lock them up. We're still going to continue to round them up and lock them up until we get this adjudicated, and then we'll throw them on these planes and get them the hell up out of here. But you've got to be a very, very stupid person to want to keep criminal, rapist, murdering, drug dealing, illegal gang members in this country. You have to be extremely stupid. In fact, I would start launching investigations into these judges. I would start digging into their bank accounts and their past and raid their homes. If this is how you're going to play the game, then we'll play the game. Oh, he's going after judges. Well, judges are going after me. They're being very anti-American, almost traitorous. This is near treason. So they need to be investigated. Why are you trying to keep criminal, illegal aliens in this country? That needs investigation.
They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out.
they're
And we have to
bad
get them out
guys,
fast.
really bad
Crazy.
guys. But in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Venezuelans. You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal record at all.
Well,
but I want to.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't,
So I want
that's
to
what
read
you
you
say.
something. Well,
Right, that's what you say, bro.
Their lawyer, what their lawyers
Go
have
ahead.
said. Okay.
That's what their lawyers say. So what? Who cares what their lawyers say? Lawyers lie. They're paid liars. You know what kills me? To have this guy speak so matter-of-factly, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna set a precedent for the rest of this interview. That's the president of the United States. The press briefing that he gets, the file that he gets on somebody, this is the file that you might get as him, the interviewer. This is your file. This is Trump's file. And that's just one person. And then as a reporter, you omit the parts that you don't want to ask. You ignore them. And then you do something like this. And you speak so matter-of-factly like you know what the hell you're talking about, to the president who has more information than you. It's at a point now where people will talk about this stuff, and I asked them, well, what did the FBI briefing, what did they tell you this morning when the FBI briefed you on this case? What did they say? Since you know more than Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, President Trump, what did they tell you? What do you know different than them? Of course, it's crickets, but you know how that goes.
Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said it was dangerous, and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters.
I agree.
Joe Rogan, right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, we want to be careful, and we are careful. We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him
is the administration.
Are vicious people. And what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? Way, way down. You know why? Because their criminals are now living happily in the United States of America, and we're getting them out. And I was elected to get them out, and we're getting them out
under the law.
and we're getting them out fast, and we're getting them out legally. Now, in some cases, we have judges. In some cases, they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible. And I think she's got big problems, frankly. And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one.
Wait a minute. Yep. We have to be treated fairly by judges. And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
Let me ask you about one man and one court order.
Here we go.
Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that.
And he got fired.
And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you know, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court.
Oh my God, it's not about the rule of law.
Illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, a great genius, right?
Let's just be honest. If Trump called South American Drake and said, hey, give us back your terrorist citizen, and he says no, like he said, no, I'm not going to smuggle this guy in the United States. No, he's a terrorist. So you want Trump to cause a problem with El Salvador Drake for a guy who, as Stephen Miller said, and Pam Bondi and even Trump said it, the second he gets here, he's just going to get sent right back or to a worse place. And you know what? If I was Trump, in all honesty, if I was Trump, I'd be like, you know what? Send him back. Send him back. And the first thing I would do, as soon as he got over North American waters, good, I'd have a judge right there on there. Hey, guess what? We're deporting you to somewhere else, somewhere way worse. right in the air. Plane just make a U-turn and go somewhere else and land somewhere else and be like, now what? Because in all honesty, the Democrats are trying to down this hill because they're trying their best to force Trump to comply to their demands and their wishes, but they don't have the power to do so. Isn't it a beautiful thing? And no, he's not doing it. He's not picking up the phone. So stop asking.
And now you find out all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my number one issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a
over that.
minute.
There's no dispute.
He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
No. Everybody knows that's MS-13 on his knuckles. The dude is an MS-13. I'm sorry. What? Okay. He fled to America to avoid a rival gang. Well, what gang were you in that was your rival? Bueller? What gang were you in that was your rival? Bueller.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to
No,
something.
we won't.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it
agree
was
to disagree.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert. I
Can be.
want to tell you Ukraine.
No.
If you're not an expert, then why are you arguing? You're not an expert. Why are you arguing, Terry? Why are you arguing? God damn. This is like having a woman trying to tell a 30-year mechanic how to change her brakes. This is her first car. She's trying to tell the mechanic how to change her brakes. Oh my God. Woo.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go.
Yes, they are.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay,
All right, we'll take a look.
You do
We'll take
such
a
a
look.
disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say yes, he does, and go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
It's not contested.
Coming
Oh my
up,
God.
the Russia-Ukraine war.
Don't
You
forget,
think he wants
this
peace?
is a
You think Vladimir
Oh my
Putin
God.
wants
The
peace?
slaps
And
that
that
my hands
historic
want to
meeting.
administer on this guy. My hands are shaking. They're
President
going to
Trump,
slap,
the first
slap some
100
sense
days
into that
continues.
goofy. Woo!
I want to turn. I was just in Rome.
Like talking to a
and
female.
To that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Sure.
Take us into that moment.
Let me pause that. Not that I hit women, because I don't hit women. But you know, you're trying to. It's like like you're exhausting. I'm telling you 1 + 1 is 2 when you're trying to say that it's 7. Simply because you want to win the argument. It doesn't, you know you're not right. You know what you're saying makes no. You know what you're saying makes no sense. It made me want to slap the taste out of your mouth, figuratively. Let me clear that up, because I know some of y'all are psychotic and like to clip things and make a big deal about them because you have nothing else better to do with your lives. But woo, just wanted to clear that up. Let's go.
Well, look, the Ukraine is a very serious, very tough situation. And this is Biden's war. This is not my war, but I want to see if I can solve it, because probably close to 5,000 young soldiers a week are being killed, Russian and Ukrainian. We also spend a tremendous amount of money in Ukraine, and Europe should be spending much more than us. They're not. They're spending much less. It's been badly handled by the Biden administration. It's been badly handled all the way around,
That moment.
The moment was a moment of solace, in a sense, because tremendous numbers of people are dying. A lot of his people are dying. They're being killed. And I feel very badly about it. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It was never even a thought of it happening.
As you know,
something's happening after that meeting with Zelensky in St. Peters.
The minerals deal.
Posted this on social media. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas and cities and towns over the last few days. It makes.
Oh yeah, what happened with that? Because I tell you, Ron, I lose associates all the time, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. You know, if you're not feeding me, effing me, or financing me, I don't care. People come and go. Right, he's been completely brainwashed. I know, and that's why I when I opened this channel, actually, ever since I opened my channel, it was to help people understand what's going on. My Embrace Villainy channel. When I did that, I focused on crime, and it was a lot of young black teenagers that committed a whole lot of crime because of the George Floyd laws. Now here we are. This is a complete 180. I support what Trump is doing. I didn't vote for him. I voted for Jill Stein because she had reparations on the table. And it's like, how do you sit there and listen to her or watch her on the Breakfast Club? Go back and watch her interview on the Breakfast Club with Angela Yee's, is it Yee or Rye? Whatever one of them, Angela. She was extremely disgusting and racist and stupid and silly during that interview. Meanwhile, the men who have common sense were sitting up there listening to her like, yeah, like, damn, everything she's saying makes sense. And then she was go back and listen to her interview with Jason Black. Normally, Jason Black will cut you up. Front, center, left, back, side to side, fried, died, laid to the side, Lakers in 5. He didn't do that with her. During or after. He asked her some tough questions, and she impressed him. And you know, that guy's a hard guy to impress. And I'm not, putting him on a pedestal or anything. It's just that when somebody who's normally unimpressed with the masses, and he has a politician on his broadcast, and she got him walking away like, I'm impressed. I swear to God, the Green Party right now, if I'm the Green Party, I am taking advantage of this Democratic collapse. But for some reason, they're just not doing it. This is why they lose elections. They are so stupid. They are so poorly managed. They're managed more poorly than the Democratic Party is right now. I would take so full advantage of their collapse. Trump has killed them economically. He's killed their media base. Now he's killing their voting bloc. When they took away the Social Security and Medicaid from illegals and passed the act to where you have same-day voting paper ballots, killed all those Social Security numbers, and passed the voter ID law, which is really your driver's license. You have to prove you're a U.S. citizen now to vote. So what the Democrats are doing with the illegals, they're now trying to draw redistricts so they can have more seats in the House. Therefore, they have permanent power in the House. But with Trump killing the Social Security numbers and telling these people to leave and then come back, okay, What that does, you can come back on a temporary visa, but you're not allowed to vote because you're not a citizen. You can't vote, but you can come back. You can't vote now, but we're going to doubly make sure you can't vote. And we're going to decide where you go. A lot of these people are self-deporting because they can't cash a check. They can't work a job. Remember they were talking about all these people over the age of 100 years old, 120 years old, millions of people with social security numbers? Yeah, Doge killed all that. That's why they were mad at Elon. Not only did he strip them of their slush funds, but he killed their voting bloc. He killed their NGOs. Wait until they start auditing these states come later this month. If not June. Wait till they start auditing these states. All of these Democratic leaders who think that they're going to get over or whatnot. The investigations are coming. It's going to be a lot of them getting arrested for theft. Theft of taxpayer funds. They're going to be doing perp walks. They're going to be stepping down. You're going to see people fleeing the country. You think Pam, what's her name? Letitia James is going to get off the hook with this? No. Yesterday, out came a report that FBI agents are now going through their second round of lie detector tests because there's been leaks in the FBI still. And instead of firing those guys like Trump wanted to do, what Kash Patel is doing, when you fail the lie detector test, you get reassigned. He just reassigns you to somewhere, you get a demotion to somewhere where you can't do any harm. He's trying to put together a special team, a special task force that's going to go after these Democratic leaders who've been stealing taxpayer funds, be it in Congress all the way down to mayor. Pritzker is in trouble. That's why he's doing all that yapping. Gavin Newsom is trying to flip the script because he knows he's in trouble. Karen Bass is in trouble. You see, who's the guy in New York? Eric Adams, flip the script real quick. Flip the script. Jasmine can do all that little ghetto mouth running. Her and AOC and Ilhan Omar, they're in trouble. Ilhan Omar is in trouble for immigration fraud, marrying her brother. Oh my God. Woo, AOC hired an illegal, had an illegal on her staff. These people are in trouble. Wait till Kash Patel get his team together. He was the last one. They stalled real hard on his nomination because they couldn't get the votes to flip it to where he couldn't get the nomination. But he got it. They're in trouble.
Makes me think that maybe...
Well, that was part of my post, but you're right. That was a part of a post.
And it says, it makes me think that he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along.
Yeah, that's
what's the other true one?
He might be.
He could be tapping me along a little bit. I would say that he would like to stop the war. I think that if it weren't for me, I think he would take over the whole country personally. I always felt. So when I left, there was
Alvin Bragg too.
When Biden got involved, I won't say whether or not he handled it properly, but obviously it wasn't good because the war started. Putin went in, the war started. I believe that Putin wanted to get all of Ukraine once he went in. And I think part of the reason he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how incompetently Milley and all these guys.
Yeah, the arrest was
one of the greatest embarrassments of our lifetimes, but maybe in the history.
Because they can't get out of their own way.
So Putin went in. I think Putin wanted all of Ukraine. Right. I think if I didn't win the election, he would have gotten all of Ukraine. I think he would have taken all of Ukraine. I think his first choice, never with me, he would have never gone in. With this group of losers, he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan. He said, wow, this is my chance. Because it was always the apple of his eye. I talked to him. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I think he wanted the whole country.
You've said for
And
months
because
that-
of me, I do believe that
Yeah,
he's willing
Back
to
up.
stop the fighting. Don't
you
forget,
think he wants
this
peace?
is a.
You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does. Yes, I think
Still.
he does. I think
Even with
because
the
of
raining
me,
missiles
I
on.
think he really his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust
I
him?
think-
Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered
All right,
with a
we're back to
tattoo doesn't have the tattoo, you know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No, I
just
am
tell you,
not,
do
sir.
I trust? I don't trust.
Oh dear, I seem to have spotted a cunt. Good day.
I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine.
All right, to reiterate, I started at the top of the hour. Trump signed the peace deal, or the minerals deal. He signed the minerals deal with Zelensky. So now if Russia attacks Ukraine, they're attacking the United States because the United States has a strong vested interest in Ukraine. Putin does not want to start a war with the United States. He doesn't even want to do this with Ukraine. So now Trump is going to be on the phone with Vladimir Putin, working out a percentage deal on the land that he's already captured in Ukraine. Hey, look, this is what we're going to do. Matter of fact, keep it. The land you got, keep it, but give us this much. Give us this percentage. This much percentage. Give us this much percentage, or give that much percentage to Ukraine, whatever you dig up. Because let's be honest, it is their land. All right, you invaded. It's only fair. Let's work this out, because they were losing thousands of soldiers a week on both sides, thousands of people per week on both sides. You can't afford to keep doing that. So sign the deal. You cut. Zelensky is the middleman. It's really the U.S. versus Russia in this instance. So let's work this out. Let's sign the papers, and then you can start digging. We'll start digging, and we'll all split up the profits, and everybody can go home happy.
It's a war that never should have happened. It did happen because of incompetent people.
Last question on this.
But it never should have happened.
If there's no peace deal, will the U.S. cut off military aid to Ukraine?
I don't want to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I would or not. I want to leave that as a big fat secret because I don't want to ruin a negotiation. But
I'd be worried.
I will
if
tell
were
you,
Ukraine.
I was not happy when I saw Putin shooting missiles into a few towns and cities. And that was
If
not
he don't
something that I
resign,
liked
they're gonna
seeing,
take
and
him
I thought
out.
it was inappropriate.
Either
But
he
I think the
resigns
whole
or they're
war is
going to
inappropriate.
resign
Again,
him.
It's a war that shouldn't have happened. This is a war that if the election weren't rigged, and it was totally rigged.
We're not even worried about Iran.
If it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have had the embarrassment of Afghanistan. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had any of the problems that you have right now.
I want to ask one
And
question.
you wouldn't have had inflation either.
All right. I want to ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you, but we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated, and I think he's going to be a very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have
Maybe great.
100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
pretty important
I
position.
have no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're
He's already dead.
going to finish this interview.
We will.
Let's go.
Coming up, President Trump on Elon Musk and Doge.
Did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Elon Musk and Doge. Everyone knows that there's wasteful government spending. It's really important.
Well, this is the big one.
The cuts have had some serious consequences. There have been cuts to foreign aid programs that save lives and keep people alive overseas. There's been research at the National Institutes of Health on cancer, on Alzheimer's, that has had to be stopped. And the question I think people have is, did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
No, I think Doge has been saved $150 billion. We saved, that's a lot of money. There's also a lot of things right now under investigation, which is going to increase that amount by a lot. That's a tremendous amount of money. There are some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall, we've saved hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now to $150 billion, and heading
you don't know
south.
what it's going to be, because we have things that are at a very high level that are being looked at right now. We also found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, as you know. We found a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraud. Fraudulent things were taking place, and we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because of it.
A legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any.
Well, you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been referrals?
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crime.
There were no referrals. I think there were referrals.
They generally are. There's been no investigation from the
How do
Justice
you know
Department.
that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
Now I'm
asking me.
asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have
I'm
been.
asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the
Of course
working
there have
group.
been. Take a look at some of these
All right,
things that
all
took
right,
place.
all right.
Billions of dollars we give it to.
You know why he asked that question? That's because understand ABC is a Democratic network. This is Disney. All right. All of the Democrats and Disney work hand in hand. You understand? Congress, Democratic leaders and Disney work hand in hand. They believe in the same things. They're a propaganda machine for them. He asked that question because you have a lot of Democratic leaders who have been stealing money. Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They've been stealing taxpayer funds, allegedly. Remember, like Elon said, you have a lot of these people in Congress who they make less than $200,000 a year, but somehow they have millions of dollars in their bank account. How did that happen? Unless they're awesome in the stock market, how did you get millions of dollars in your bank account? Tens of millions of dollars. How did you get rich off $200,000 a year or less on average? You have only been in Congress for 2 years. Been in Congress for 2 years. You got 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. Where's this money coming from?
People for no reason whatsoever. Of course they have
I
that.
want to bring up what is truly one of,
They scared.
for a lot of people, one of the biggest achievements of your first term. That is Operation Warp Speed.
They want to
You
know
got
if he's
that COVID
coming after
vaccine up and
right.
going and distributed, and a lot of people took it, and a lot of people that feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly. This is a very much different thing than COVID in terms of rapidity and speed and other things. Measles have been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
You know what they're not telling you about the measles outbreak is that it's not in Texas, the average American child, well, just the average American child, there is usually a measles outbreak in the United States. Happens every year. But the reason why it's so high in Texas is because you have illegals The children, they're in Texas. They're not vaccinated. Thus, you have a high measles outbreak. They didn't tell you that.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much. And you can't tell moms and dads it's a good thing to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes,
I do. I recommend it. Yeah.
Got it. That
Do
was
I
my
mandate
question.
it?
No, I didn't.
But I
ask
do
you.
recommend it. Yes.
Good. Do you think
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.,
Yeah.
has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism? Do you think Kennedy recommends the measles vaccine?
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You satisfied with his
Yeah, I mean, he
responsiveness?
recommended that they go out and get
Flying
the vaccine.
flying private jets with
Still
aliens.
ahead.
I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
President Trump, the
They went after
100
him.
days continues.
They went after him.
Me out. It's my turn. It is. You told me it was my turn.
Are the powers that you have in the presidency temporarily that the American people have given you, right? You've revoked a lot of people's security clearances. You've revoked people's security details who are still threatened, with death threats. You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they
When you go after the
represented
king,
people
you
that
better not miss.
Agreed because they paid me
His
a lot of
revenge
money.
The
will be
reason they
terribly
agreed
swift
is because
and
you were
powerful and
threatening
brutal.
to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's
These
their
are
bread and
big
butter.
boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not
You got a
people that
lot of
are
leverage as
easily
president.
intimidated.
As president, you got all the cards.
And they paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You're crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that
we have a clause in the thing that while we admit no wrongdoing, but it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's, these are the most powerful firms in the world. And they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way, but they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess the question out of that is the concern that people have. Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what.
Like Letitia James,
you're really not
like
asking,
Alvin
you
Bragg,
should be asking. There has
like
never
Fannie
been
Lewis,
a
Willis,
president
whatever.
in this country, in the history, that was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And
Called him a racist,
people figured,
fascist,
well, maybe
Nazi.
that's it. Finally, we got
Daily.
he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter.
But
and
he's
then I came
supposed to
back.
just take
and,
it.
I came back because I have tremendous support. When you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states. I won the popular vote. I won 2,750 districts compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
But does that give you the right to go after your political opponents with the powers of this office?
I'm going after, all I'm doing, hey,
Tell
Biden did something to me, and
So
I did something
nobody
to
said
Biden. And
nothing.
you know why I did it? Because he's grossly incompetent. That's not a man that should be allowed to, be looking at things that are very confidential.
But what about
Because he didn't.
71
Here's a
people you
man that
revoked
used
to.
an auto pen to sign very important documents. Now, who really is? Do you think he knew that they were using an auto pen? I mean, he used an auto pen to sign very, very important documents, and so those are really the questions you should be asking. What do you think of the auto pen? Who wielded the auto pen? Because whoever that person was, think of it. Whoever the person that wielded the auto pen, he was really the president of the United States. Because
You are
I
the
don't
president,
think,
right.
I don't think that Biden knew.
Right, because as we found out from Lindy Lee, Biden's schedule was he would come down about 10 o'clock, have his coffee, watch Morning Joe, do whatever little presidential duties that he was able to muster up his brain to do. And then by 4 p.m., he was gone. He was out of the office. He was back in the residential side. So who was running the White House from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then from 4 p.m. till 10 a.m.? Who was running the White House?
Anything about it. Fair enough. But you are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No. People that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I think
people
are
made you
dishonest.
angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to go into top secret information. I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay. I understand you just had a phone call with the new Canadian premier, and they just had this election.
Yeah.
You were a big issue in it, and Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over Canada's going to become the 51st state. And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down
Canadian bacon,
into the United States from around the world. It feels like there's been reputational damage.
What are they going to do?
Well, prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Where do you see the numbers? The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now Canada, tourism's doing very well.
Dude,
that's very well.
Who the hell comes to America
Wait till you
during
see
the
the real
winter?
numbers come out in 6 months from now. Where do you see the numbers?
But do you
They're gonna
think,
be
I'm going to
very
ask
good.
you,
Hold on. Who the hell comes to America during the winter? And when they come to America during the winter, where do they normally go? Florida, California. California is a shithole, like literally. So they go to Florida. Ron DeSantis, even though he fizzled out in the presidential campaign, he became a blubbering mess on the campaign trail, which I hated to see. But as far as a governor, the man is excellent. Florida, people are moving to Florida. He got rid of all that gay crap in the schools. He kicked all of that out of the Florida school system. The squatting laws, there is no squatting in Florida. Somebody show up to their house and there's somebody squatting in their house. Damn it, they're checking IDs. If you better not show the police a fake lease in Florida. That's a felony. They will throw your ass in jail right then and there. You're forced to, when they show up, matter of fact, you understand Florida has the castle doctrine. You show up to your house and somebody is in there, you can blow their brains out in Florida. I am not kidding. You can legally blow their brains out in Florida because they consider that a burglary. There is no, you go to court for 3 to 6 months and they try to scam you out of thousands of dollars to leave while you got to pay their utility bills and all. No, you vacate the property now. Now. They throw you in jail in Florida. They urge you to shoot to kill in Florida. They do not play games in Florida. Disney, their tourism is down because they still doing all of that, pride crap. But all the other amusement parks, their attendances are up. Disney's attendance are down. All the other theme parks, their attendances are up. The hell is he talking about? Tourism isn't up now. Yeah, well, there's only one warm weather spot to go to in the winter in the United States now.
if I may, do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody.
Hold on. So what is that? What you say? You say Trump ain't wrong because in Michigan, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Illinois has a lower prices and lower fuel of $2.67 per gallon. Yeah, that's true. I know. I fuel up once a week. You say then Sabby Sabs changed the narrative. What happened? What was the narrative that she changed? Because I am sub to her, but I don't watch her stuff all the time. See, I'm in Tennessee right now. It's $2.69 per gallon. Yeah, that's good. Pre-COVID.
They knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news. All right.
Yep, there you go.
Everybody knew. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news. All right.
Damn.
Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you for the opinion, but more importantly, thank you for having us here. I have one more question. It's a big one. It's a question that you know a lot of people have out there. What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again. We have a country that was failing. We have a country that was laughed at all over the world. We had a leader that was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. The election was rigged. He should have never been there. Our country suffered greatly, and now our country's coming back like nobody can believe. I have editorials just today where they're saying they've never seen anything like it. They love it. Our country's coming back, and we're respected again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Ooh.
Now for a lesson. You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond. Plus.
I think he knocked it out of the park. I mean, you know what kills me with some of these reporters. And matter of fact, tonight we're gonna jump into Ana Navarro's shit because she actually had the nerve to put black people's names in her mouth, talking about the deportation of illegals, trying to compare it to slavery. Yes, she tried to compare it to slavery on the Scott Jennings and the Nitwit show. I call it Scott Jennings and the Nitwits because, good Lord, them people on CNN, they're nitwits. But she tried to say that to Shermichael, the black guy, tried to compare deportations to slavery, and he jumped down her throat, and she actually had the nerve to jump back. And then Abby Phillips was trying to defend her, and he was like, hold on, no. Like, I'm going to check this chick. Yeah, oh, Lord, right. He had to check that BITCH. He checked the hell out of her. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Don't you ever. He was like, I'm a black man. What you talking about? How dare you? Abby was like, you didn't hear her right. No, I heard her. You tell me what I heard. I know what I heard her say. Like, stop sticking up for her because, you know, both of y'all are ass kiss buddies. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Ooh, we're going to get into that tonight. Ooh, we're going to get into that tonight. Man, no telling what else went on today. We'll figure it out. I've been here for 1 hour, 34 minutes, and you know a lot happens. That Trump does not slow down. So we'll peep it. What'd you say? Like, man, it's not even close. What the F is she talking about exactly? We're going to get into that tonight. That's going to be the first thing we do at 9 o'clock. So I will catch y'all tonight. Y'all be safe. Oh, and peep out the new exit and the new intro. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below, all right?
You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers.
1, 2.